Hi, my name is Emilio Vicioso. I'm a current senior graduating this May with majors in mathematics and biology and a minor in philosophy. On campus, I'm a member of the crew team and I'm following a pre-med track. Well, if I'm being honest, none of that was actually true. My name is Emilio though, that part was true, but everything else I just told you is 100% a lie. But if I didn't just tell you that was all a lie, you would have believed me, right? I mean, what reason would you have not to? Sure, you could look up Hamilton Men's Crew and realize I'm not on the roster, but the rest of that information, how can you figure it out without a background check or the use of a third party to tell you? What if there was a way where all this information about me could be tracked and linked to me so you know who I really was? Well, there is something that could do this, and it's called blockchain. Now, before I elaborate, it's important to note that blockchain is typically associated with cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin and Ether, and while these cryptocurrencies are dependent on blockchain, blockchain is entirely independent of these cryptocurrencies. In technical terms, blockchain is a somewhat public, permanent ledger that facilitates the recording of all transactions or actions within a network. So simply put, it maintains a whole history of everything that occurs in this said network. So hypothetically, using this, we as a society could accurately track the history of an individual to an absurd extent, and this could have deep implications for tracking an individual's identification, medical, or even academic records. And having a full ledger of this information could revolutionize how schools admit students, how firms hire employees, and can have drastic implications on our economy. But before we get too excited about these implications, let's take a moment to understand what blockchain really is. Economic journals published by the International Journal of Information Management provide thorough outlines of blockchain, its potentials, and its obstacles. And to briefly summarize, blockchain is a peer-to-peer network that maintains the accuracy, integrity, and security of information over time. Blockchain is made up of blocks or nodes, each of which contain their own copy of a ledger of information, and all of which interact with each other, forming a network. When a block is filled up with information and verified through a process called mining, this block is added to a chain, and over time this creates a chain of blocks, leading to an uninterrupted history of information throughout time. Now, this technology has deep implications for many different aspects of life, but at the same time, it does have its obstacles that it faces. So blockchain is a decentralized concept, meaning there's no governing body behind it, and this is a grave concern for governments worldwide, as it can remove a lot of their power. Especially when blockchain is paired with cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin, it can severely disrupt a national fiat currency, such as the US dollar. Additionally, blockchain raises some climate change concerns, as when it's paired with proof-of-work models, like we see with Bitcoin, it uses a lot of computing power and leaves a very large carbon footprint. Regardless, let's get back to the implications of this technology. So, do you remember a few years back that college scandal where a bunch of kids were getting into schools that they weren't necessarily qualified to get into, but their wealthy parents were pulling some strings behind the scenes to get them in? Well, stuff like this happens all the time on much smaller scales too. I remember when I was in high school, my school recommended an SAT tutoring company that charged $450 for one singular 3-hour session, and they recommended a course pack of 10 weeks. Now that's $4,500 and something not a lot of people can afford. And these test classes help students get more comfortable with test material and strategies, making them excel on exams. Now, personally, I didn't take up on these opportunities, but I know a lot of kids who did. Hence, is the SAT really a fair measure of natural intelligence? So, what if we use this blockchain technology to look at academic records from way before the SAT, seeing from when you were younger, how your scores were like? Or if we used it to measure how many times you took the SAT or the ACT, just put your raw scores out there, no super scoring. We could use it to see what you do with your extracurriculars, see what organizations you volunteer with, what awards you've won outside of school, or anything else that could build up your personal portfolio. And then further down the road, you can see where you've been to school, what firms you've worked for, or anything else that might help a firm hire you. Now, this could have extreme disruptive implications on the economy, as it could level the proverbial playing field for everyone, reducing the need for a third party and increasing productivity. It could increase GDP, and it could lead to a more equitable society where money has less of an impact on the outcome of an individual. There are already companies, including Sony and Tesla, looking to apply blockchain in these manners, but they're facing issues of accessibility, adoption, and application. Even if this technology was applied, we don't really know if it'd be easy to replace common practices right now, and it may be economically inefficient to do so until a larger sample tests its use. We know that blockchain is extremely accessible. As with cryptocurrency, all you need is your phone to access a trading platform, and you're using blockchain. But how would this specific function work? Sure, an individual could try to do it themselves, set up their computer and put their own information out there, but that requires expertise and resources that many, including myself, do not have. So in this case, it'd probably be a lot easier if someone just did it all for us. So no matter how you look at it, blockchain has the potential to disrupt our daily way of living. Its main draw is that it's decentralized, which means it takes power away from governments and large corporations and gives it back to the people. It has amazing integrity, security, and accuracy of information over a long period of time. And it's really accessible because, in essence, it is everywhere. Blockchain achieves a similar notion of data information storage that we have with saving something to your computer or to the cloud, both very distinguished differences. Now, when you save something to your computer and you press Command S, it's on that one singular spot on that one singular computer. In the case of a flood or a power outage or other disruptive yet common event, all this information can be wiped and lost forever. Now, blockchain solves this issue very similar to the cloud by just taking your information and putting it somewhere else. And this is where it gets really interesting. So the name of the cloud alludes to the idea that all this information is floating up in the air somewhere, when in reality how it works is an intermediary third party takes what you want saved and makes a copy of it, and takes this copy and puts it in a secure data storage system somewhere else. Blockchain, on the other hand, doesn't take a copy. It only has this one original version, and it disperses it across its large decentralized network that only grows over time with more users. Furthermore, everything that happens on this platform is entirely public and attached to each user's personal node. This node, however, is not attached to a name, so users can see everything this node does, but they will never know who this node is. So essentially, blockchain is a disruptive concept that could change the way we live, and it could truly define who we are as a people because it can tell us who we are as a people. And that's something truly incredible. Thank you. Yeah. Yeah, so the question was, how long have I been learning about blockchain and how? So I actually got interested in blockchain through this book called Bitcoin Billionaires. It's about the Winklevoss twins who worked with Facebook, and they were early investors in the idea of Bitcoin. And through Bitcoin, I started learning more about that concept and how it's a decentralized concept with no governing body behind it, and I thought that was a really interesting idea. So I took it a little further and tried to learn more about blockchain, because that's more the idea that's where the decentralization comes from, and it could have decentralized impacts on a lot of different realms within society and the economy. So I learned through this book, and then I got some new books, a new book called Values, which analyzes in like a post-COVID society where our economy can go, potentially using blockchain technology and changing this blockchain technology to move away from an environmentally hurtful manner. So changing from proof of work models, for example, which are use a lot of computing power, to a proof of stake model, which would use less computing power. So mainly from reading books and then exploring on my own, essentially. Yes?
What happens to liquidity if there's a cyber attack or the internet goes down?
Yeah, so essentially, with Bitcoin and cryptocurrency, I think that's the easiest way to look at it right now, since we don't know how other applications of blockchain may work in the future. And when we see with cryptocurrency, how it works are there are companies that facilitate the use of blockchain for the individuals. So the one I can think of right now is Coinbase, which is a trading platform for a lot of different types of cryptocurrency. And it's an extremely secure system, so you can't necessarily see where this money is. It's essentially floating around the large decentralized network, and that's where all the security comes in to prevent a cyber attack. Because as this decentralization spreads information out, so it's not necessarily on one like large data server somewhere in Apple's headquarters, for example, which could be targeted by a cyber attack. it's spread out across all the nodes of all the different users that are participating in the network. So it just leads to a more and more secure network as people join the network, which deters cyber attacks. And of course, anything is possible. It could lead to more targeted attacks and hackers figuring out how to target this system. But as of right now, I'm not aware of any large data breaches or cyber attacks.